Here we are going to have some of our lovely ascension energy messages for those of you who are part of the 5D collective. So you have an inner child adult. You are taking the lead. Your future is yours. Why? Because you know how to forgive yourself and others. There is a balance that is between the ego self and expanding consciousness. So you're ready for true love and relationships. True love is only when another human being is able to tend to you the way they can tend to themselves. So that means you have healthy self worth. You are on a quest that is your own heart's quest, and you're on a quest that involves expanding together. So when ego self are friends, they are going to live happily and contently for the rest of their life. And they love honesty more than money. And the ability to love honesty more than money means that what other people say about you, it doesn't matter, but you will not be doing anything that you feel ashamed of. So you're not going to do any of that evil stuff, that unkind stuff, any of that which is unresolved trauma, trust breaks. Okay, so the evil stuff that people use these words still in ways that are of our ancient ancestors, it's equal to one here at HP, Michael Stone, forensic criminologist, they all end up in jail. And then for unkind, we know about trauma. So we don't justify adaptive child or maladaptive child behaviors, but we know that they're not tapped into their ego self. So they don't take the lead of their future because they don't know how to forgive their own past mistakes, let alone others, which is where the adaptive child, they're rigid and unforgiving. They also don't expand from any of that life that takes place as more of their self. So you can only be more of yourself once you are being yourself. Being yourself means that you can mindfully take your emotional stuff and mental stuff and be aware, and you work with it. That's why the ego self comes into harmony and you balance it out again and again and again with forgiveness. And you don't say, I forgave. So if you didn't tune in to our other episode, I'm going to read to you the quote from Sadhguru. If you want to take charge of your destiny, the first step is to take charge of your own body and mind. And that is what the ascension energies have been bringing as you've balanced your inner child with the capacity to notice, okay, there are things that I know I didn't want to do, but that my ego self, my false sense of self, whatever your story is, I brought forth, whether it was a relationship that wasn't working out, whether it was a job, whatever it is, you figured it out, it's clear, and you have been lightening your load. So it's easy for mindfully aware and spiritually aware people. So they are different because if we have secular people, they will do mindful, they won't be spiritual. And I embrace and welcome all. So the 5D collective, they involve mystics of the Enlightenment soul age group caliber type. And then the whole inner child adult, it's a functional adult. So it's a whole self. Your core self, there's no shame defectiveness button. So you see yourself, you soothe yourself, you're safe and secure to be yourself. You have a narrative, relational, and solo self, and you enjoy our human connection. So you're not talking about people like pieces of shit. If they have any of lack of intelligence, we have friends that we go and say, guess what happened? So you have men, women, and theys who are open-minded, open-hearted. Those are the intelligent and intelligence. When we meet those with superhero capes and supervillain capes, we learn what? Well, I'm still doing physical mastery of looking to forgive all of that which ego represents, because I still have definitely a bunch of charge towards it. And then I'm also reminded I have my own ego self of Maria, right? So that's why we keep that balance. Again, we're all flawed and we're all imperfect. So we keep ourselves in that scale, the justice, where you don't tip it one way or the other. It's really fun. That's called Dharma. So you're doing the prefrontal cortex dance. It's called the physiological state of compassion, which is what a restorative embodiment, self-aware, accountable, and regulating person does. That's what the mindfulness, mindset, and mindset practices help. And it's a small thing. Most people think that it's fun and power to have this supervillain of themselves or the shadow. They call it supervillain of me or the shadow. And it's like, nah, okay. That's the 16-year-old version of every person out there. This is where I say this based on my courses, not because it's fixed in stone. The 16 is the fight response. So that's what I've noticed. They're all empowerment and justice, but not in a therapist's room with a community to heal themselves and get to forgive their own household. No. So when you learn from smart people like Patrick Jehan, he's a good therapist and he's a childhood trauma survivor. And he has this thing. It's a little scale or a little meme. He says, people, why do they keep telling us we need to forgive? So he doesn't like the colleagues, the other therapists who say that they have to forgive. Okay, but it's not that he doesn't like. He's tending to his community, which involved childhood trauma survivors, like people who tend to their community and who have the narcissist as the equation, they're healing, but they get really, so if you lose balance, I've seen one of them online, no, more than one, two, three, yeah, four, five or six human beings who have probably more certificates than I ever will, and they are completely brutal, dehumanizing narcissists, making up twisted ways of sharing with you data. Their confirmation bias is all over it. You can totally tell. If you're a person who knows how to manage your ego self and listen without personal stuff, and also listen because you know that they're human, and because you see the ones who are healing, like lovely Kylie. And she also has borderline, and there are others who heal. So anyone who is making any group of the personality disorders out to be a monster, they are biased. And their capacity to twist statistics and studies is because they grab them and say things like, yeah, but you know, the spectrum, and my colleagues, it's a lost fight. They're all against me. There's your teenager right there. Anybody notice? They're all against me. That's all or nothing. So please be aware, your ears will hear it. If I'm here to support, I say, I know some things, not all things. Here's what they're finding. They don't like that. That's called the ego, not the ego self-harmony, and it's called a masculine, not a feminine. And if it's a feminine, it's going to be a distorted feminine, and you're going to notice it because the energy is not humble. It's the energy from Squirrel Land of Cusco and Cusco. So you can better bet I know energetic imprint. The squirrel from Cusco Land is the distorted feminine, so I'm going to equate it while we're talking, and Cusco is the distorted masculine. They equally are uncomfortable to be around, and at the same time, there's no reason for me to judge them. You see, I can tell where I'm getting charged and where I'm having here something. I don't like. This is that part of when you like and don't like. It's not none of my business. That's my bias. That's my personal opinion here with a charge. Don't need to project it. I don't need to use it to make it a truth. That's the whole part of why a person who's mindfully aware or spiritually aware, again, with the expanding consciousness, pure consciousness, the way God taught it to me. You see, God gets used by those who have charges. I don't use God that way, and I try not to use it all the time, but my relationship with humbleness is because of God. And then my relationship with love is because of Jesus and forgiveness from the heart and the Holy Spirit. That's why I know about my light body expansion. And yet, I'm a mystic, and I am not welcomed by those who want to use the word devil, demon, Lucifer. I'm okay with that because I am not ashamed of Maria. I have not done anything that lacks integrity. If anything, I know what integrity is because I know how to be straight and speak. And then I know how to use information and not spread rumors like yoga brings demons out of you without even looking into it. Or getting on screen and talking about some man fucking a woman and them not texting us back because of contempt and disgust towards the woman, and then shame, as if I need to feel ashamed of that, or some woman fancy on screen as they remind women, remember, if they fuck you, please, don't think of wedding bells. And then I tell my women, I tell them, I know you learned how to make it on your own, but let him open the door for you. Just let him open the door. Interesting. So these are all pieces of information. When I see them, because I watch all, I'm like, okay, I know Peter Pan's, and I know Lost Boys, Lost Girls, where they're going. Their confirmation bias is all over that one. They're black and white thinking. Those are adaptive child parts. These are people who could use Terry Real so that they could get out of their brain that has confirmation bias, non-bilateral integration, but really it would be that they have a will to heal. They're unresolved from their own home, and whatever else happened to them, it would be, let me take a look at myself and what I'm bringing out of my mouth and my heart. And they don't, because they're on that empowerment justice part of that healing journey, but they're not with a therapist. They're just doing it together on screen, online, all prancing around, and they don't want to forgive. So Patrick Chan says, we don't need to forgive. Why should we? Again, he's addressing his community, so he's trying to get people into his door to get healed, but he's also making a statement where he doesn't agree with his colleagues who talk about forgiveness. And his is a very soft approach. You can tell that he's authentic and genuine. He's not harping too much one way, not harping too much the other way, at least not as we speak. I like to watch as people move into their this. That's why I have people that check in on me. I say, hey, keep eyes, keep ears. Tell me. I chose them in time because they chose me in time, and they are trusted to the point that I know that even if their wisdom had any of their personal stuff, it's okay because it would still benefit more people than not. So that's the part you accept. We all have ego. We all have self. We don't become blinded to our ego. We don't become blinded to ourself, which is why you have the perfect blend of the feminine, masculine energies. And that's what 5D frequency is. And again, I learned this with Jesus and God. So my wisdom of the heart comes from the two resources, what the therapists call when we believe in something that is not on this lovely planet. And Jesus, I know, existed, although this is where I know there's a lot of different stories, and I have my data checkers that I will always go to check with, and I try to disregard that which I pretty much think is misinformation, but I don't know. Okay, so again, you take the lead of your future, and you are, thanks to forgiving past mistakes and expanding from them as yourself. This is the constant message for today. So you have harmony between the ego self, your masculine, feminine, but remember I changed it up sometimes, divine masculine, divine feminine. The left is the masculine, the right is the feminine. And you have mental, emotional, physical intelligence and mastery, which is why the eclipse is bringing to you true love and relationships. True love means a potential real partner, real meaning a human being who has a whole self. Believe me, I've met them. They're awesome. We'll get to that one next. It's so nice to meet masculines who are mystics and empowered, and then also the masculines who are not mystics and empowered. And that's for a mystic and a polyamory crew. Come on over. We have some really fun stories when they know what love is all about. They know how to use their mouth. They don't talk big. They talk and they do. So if somebody says, you know what, when I want what I want, I go get it. If they say it and they're empowered, they go get it. So saying it and doing it is the most thrilling experience you'll ever see. Because see, this is the part of what a feminine with their own masculine notices. I have 2 hands, 2 feet. I can be and I can do and I am. And that's why you're taking the lead. So every one of us is imperfect and flawed, but with integrity, we respect each other and we live the life that is of meaning beyond the solo self. So that's true spirituality. And with mindfulness, mindset, and mindset, you're able to keep that past because you don't forget it. You keep it here. You look to the future. You don't know anything yet. There's the infinite possibility. But because you're an inner child adult who has this harmonization within you, and so with the own sense of self, a differentiated self, you pursue being yourself with flaws, integrity, while living mindfully or spiritually. Hold on. The mind, heart, body, as you explore thoughts and emotions with equanimity, bliss, and delight. This is when life's unknowns happen. Okay? So that is the part that I want to read a little bit more to you before I actually let you go, because I did have some messages. I just need to find them. Well, I think I'll look for them. But the gut is what I wanted to share. So relationships that are meaningful, you feel it here. The visceral is not what you will look into. If you're a whole self, you'll know the difference. But the gut, it's a soft punch when it's a nudge from the universe. When it's a bigger punch, it's personal, and that's when you want to do mind, heart, gut, and within yourself, inner growth. It's okay, let me sit with my emotions. Let me sit with my thoughts. Let me understand, what am I expanding from? So for me, for example, I came to that awareness. I don't like the ego because the ego tends to disrupt the flow of the self for those who are not empowered. And I don't like to see inner child adults be not inner child adults, meaning the inner child, let me out, let me out. So I will, as a feminine, be aware of your unconscious, subconscious. So I'll be aware of your heart. That's why I'll be able to see you and your infinite potential and just say, wow, you're amazing. Then your ego will come out of the woodwork and I'll be like, oh shit, I forgot. Ego, damn it. Okay. And ego is so stubborn because rigidity, again, the adaptive child parts of anyone, with the maladaptive, they just fuck, do drugs, all of that bullshit. They become even more upsetting because now I know I've got a person who's just using neuroplasticity, the dark sides, and they're going to keep on becoming more and more by the minute unhealthy and stupid, because that's what happens when a person begins to be a little wheel of karma, and then they completely are disconnected from life. But they're a person, they have an identity, so they think they're this. I've met people, they think they're this. They're going to make excuses for their drugs and their fucking and their drinking. They're going to make excuses for the petty little things that they do with their other people. So, catch me if you can. Again, remember, 1 to 7, they get taken to prison. They do stupid shit. People who have unfortunate business, like catch me if you can, yeah, not smart. So when you have an adolescent brain that isn't owned by an actual human being, you got stupidity, and then you got morons, and then you got, again, people who don't notice that they need help, except for the ones of us who do. But they need to have the desire to heal. That's why the ego, to me, is so annoying. But then I remember this, so I'm processing the energy of it's annoying to see people continue to not expand to what they could be. None of my business. So a pure state of consciousness, 5D frequency, will notice those who can match it, but they don't want to. And they choose to commit to this beneath the surface. Okay? That is me using an example of what I have been enlightened to, for example, in these past days. All of you have enlightening coming up. And again, let us go so I can move into our next topic. Thank you for stopping by. Like, share, and subscribe if you are person who wants to hear stories and you want to do mindfulness, mindset daily or weekly or monthly. If you're curious about mentorship, I do one-to-one. I have a masterclass that I'm working on, and we will have also spiritual retreat. I like to integrate spirituality, and sciences. I learn from a lot of people. I won't always remember to mention who they are, what they are, and I don't do explanations. I use my titles and I try to make sure within the description. So if you have questions, reach out again. Hey, Maria, can you explain to me how you use that word? I don't use dictionaries, meaning I am a stream of consciousness. So I'm not a person who's going to be in any way, shape, or form that linearity that some people look for. I'm a whole 3-year-old heart with an adolescent brain. And so the adolescent, though, and the 3, they're whole. So this is what it means to be a whole inner child adult self. It is emotions, thoughts with, my past and everything that I come with. It's not leading the way. So when somebody spots, hey, but I don't understand, if they say it with curiosity, I'm happy. If they say it without and they're Cusco, I'm still happy because I have taken the lead. My mind, my heart, my body, they're mine. And that's why difficult people are not difficult. We also don't try to have them be good to us, because they will not be people that we're going to be trying to say, you have to treat me this way. You don't have to treat me anyway. I'm just going to notice. And if I'm okay with it, then that means we're doing good. If I'm not, I'm going to say, that's not going to work for me. So taking the lead is really fun. Looking forward to being back again in a little bit. Thank you for stopping by. Like, share, and subscribe again, and see you soon.